All right, guys, we got, I think, one more politics-related story for this morning, and it's Paul Fauci round, 7.
There, we got one?
Yep, we got us, guys.
Oh, thank God.
We got 7 minutes of Rand Paul versus Dr. Fauci. You guys like this stuff?
Yes.
We'll do it for you. Rand Paul versus Fauci. Now, Fauci got COVID, but he's quadruple vaccinated, so imagine how much worse it would be if he wasn't vaccinated.
Be dead.
Yeah, oh, God, he would have died when they told him he was positive, because that's what happens. So he couldn't go in person to this Senate hearing. So he had to log onto a computer and go onto a Zoom connection so Rand Paul could fuck with him. Now, the thing Rand Paul wanted to talk to him about was was it FDA or CDC approving the vaccines for children under 5. Rand Paul decided to ask him, Dr. Fauci, he decided to ask him, do we have any studies that show that kids even need this shit?
Right.
And, well, at least we got the answer. Let's watch this. Guys, are you ready? Do you have your... I feel like the popcorn meme when you get Fauci versus Paul. Fauci versus Paul is quality television.
Get your popcorn out and your 3D glasses.
All right, here we go. Fauci versus Paul. I hope you have something to drink.
Dr. Fauci, the government recommends everybody take a booster over age 5. Are you aware of any studies that show reduction in hospitalization or death for children who take a booster?
Right now, there's not enough data that has been accumulated, Senator Paul, to indicate that that's the case. I believe that...
That's interesting. Wait a minute. Now, I'm going to pause this a lot because this guy's full of shit. But it's interesting.
Why?
There's not enough data for us to know if children 5 years old and older have hospitalization and, all these issues from COVID or not, enough to make a difference for the vaccine. But as soon as the vaccine rolled out, it was, if you don't get this fucking vaccine, you'll go to the hospital and you'll die. Well, we've had a year and a half of a vaccine now to have data to back up your claim you're making. But since this 2-year pandemic, you don't have enough data on kids and vaccines and hospitalizations and shit like that, because it didn't seem like you needed that data to yell and scream at us for not getting vaccinated, even though you had no data to suggest that you were right. In fact, you actually suggested that if you got this vaccine, you wouldn't get COVID. Then when people started getting the disease with the vaccine, you said, oh, well, if you aren't vaccinated, it's way more easier to go to the hospital and die from it. And then those numbers didn't really start panning out. So,
well,
I mean, the balls on one hand to go, I know what's going to happen to you if you don't do this, and then having no data on that, to then go, hey, why should these kids have to rush to get vaccinated? Do we have any data that shows they're at risk? And he's like, oh, we don't have enough data for that.
Well, God, we've got to administer these vaccines, pump all this unnecessary chemical bullshit in your body just in case it works, though. Right?
That the recommendation that was made was based on the assumption that if you look at the morbidity and mortality of children within each of the age groups, 0 to 5, 5 to 11.
Right.
So your answer is no.
It's always good for a medical statement to have the word assumption in it.
I always feel really confident when medical decisions are made based on assumptions. Mm-hmm. Whenever I go to my doctor and I go, man, I got a splitting headache. He's like, all right, we're going to assume it's brain cancer. And we're going to hack into your head. It's like, do we have any tests or anything you've run to show that's necessary? No, we're just going to assume.
I'd like a second opinion, please.
Yeah. You know that old saying, when you assume, you sound like a really smart guy? Does Rand Paul have a fucking penny on his lapel?
No, that's something red. Is it a penny? You might be right.
Does Rand Paul have a fucking penny on his lapel? What? It
looks red, though.
Rand Paul is going to be in the Senate until he's like 80, and he's just going to get crazier and crazier. He's going to be wearing a whirly hat by the time he's 60 because the place will have just driven him nuts.
So there are no studies, and Americans should all know this. There are no studies on children showing a reduction in hospitalization or death with taking a booster. The only studies that were permitted, the only studies that were presented were antibody studies. So they say if we give you a booster, you make antibodies. Now, a lot of scientists would question whether or not that's proof of efficacy of a vaccine. If I give you 10, or if I give a patient 10 mRNA vaccines and they make protein each time, or they make antibody each time, is that proof that we should give 10 boosters, Dr. Fauci?
No, I think that is somewhat of an absurd exaggeration.
Well, that is
Well, they've already started hating each other. Here we go. We're already absurd. Here we go. It's always look. Both of these guys throw out passive aggressive shots at each other like bitches. But
passive aggressiveness.
In this meeting, it was Fauci who threw the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Proof that you use. Your committees use that. That's the only proof you have to tell children to take a booster is that they make antibodies. So it's not an absurdity. You're already at like 5 boosters for people. You've had, 2 or 3 boosters. It's like, where is the proof? Now, I think there is probably some...
Right, this is a good question. This guy's loaded up to the gills with vaccines and boosters that produce antibodies. Why aren't these antibodies stopping this asshole from getting COVID?
It's a good question.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this isn't a conspiracy theory I have. You get called a conspiracy theorist because you're like, hey, if this is an easy question to answer, why don't you just answer it for me? If this guy is loaded up with boosters and vaccines, then that should mean he's got a shitload of antibodies. Why does this disease have a chance to infect his system?
Right. That's the whole point of a vaccine, is to prevent that.
Yeah.
I saw on the news in the gym the other day that reinfection rates, I believe it was a 1 in 6, I think it's 1.6 million reinfection cases.
Like of people who have had it once and had it before,
Yep.
or people who are vaccinated and had it?
I didn't hear that part.
Okay.
But they've had it
medication
twice.
for older folks that have some risk factors. For younger folks, there's not. But here's the other thing. There are some risk factors for the vaccine.
Yeah.
So the risk of myocarditis with a second dose for adolescent boys 12 to 24 is about 80 in a million. This is both from the CDC and from the Israeli study.
80 in a million. Think about that. How many young kids are there in this country? 100 million? I don't know. I have no idea.
I have no idea. Anything I would say is out of my ass.
So 80 times 100 is 8,000. I mean, 8,000 kids getting myocarditis. I mean, you'd better have a study that shows that vaccine is worth that risk.
Yeah.
Because the numbers we have now are that kids get this and they're typically fine and they don't go to the hospital and they don't die unless they have like diabetes or they're obese or anything like that. So, I mean, if I'm a parent and there's 8,000 kids in the country that, statistically will get myocarditis from having this vaccine, I'm not going to take that 80 in a million risk.
Nope.
If my kid's going to be fine.
I agree.
It's also in the VAERS study, remarkably similar for boys, much higher from boys than girls and much higher than the background. The background's about 2 per million. So there is risk and there are risks. And you're telling everybody in America just blindly go out there because we made antibodies. So it is not an absurd corollary to say if you have 10. In fact, you probably make antibodies if you get 100 boosters. All right? That's not science. That's conjecture. And we should not be making public policy on it.
The reason it's so hard for Fauci to just dismiss Rand Paul is the guy is a doctor. Like, he has been trained. Mm-hmm. I know he's like a foot doctor or an eye doctor or something like that, but he's a doctor all this. He had to go to medical school.
Yes.
He knows his shit.
Yep.
So, Senator Paul, if I might respond to that, we just heard in his opening statement, Ranking Member Burr talk about his staff who went to Israel.
Bill?
That's what I was wondering.
My God, was Bill Burr? Hey, I just, what do I know about vaccines? I was thinking, maybe you give it to a kid, maybe he grows a horn or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's fine.
Can we get him involved?
I don't have any idea. What do you take the vaccine? Sure, whatever. Fuck it. Take a booster. I don't care. It's like all these guys are meeting under a mountain anyway. I don't know. That's Bill Burr. What I love about Bill Burr is that he starts out like really strong and opinionated about everything, and then he ends it with like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not sure.
The fall off is funny.
I would like to see Bill Burr as like a founding father. I'd be like, the English are fucking with us. The English are out of line. They're taxing us without representation. It's bullshit. You know, we ought to just go over there and revolt. We ought to declare independence. You know, we ought to just go out there. We ought to declare ourselves our own country, enforce our shit, and rebel against the English. But, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, maybe we should just stay. I don't know. You know, what have I haven't really read anything. You know, I'm just kind of out here making my theories, you know. And then John Adams is like, I declare, sir, what is your conviction? I don't know. I'm mad, you know. The other day I didn't get enough sleep. And I'm just kind of bitchy, you know.
I bet nobody talked like that back then.
I know.
Not even a single person.
I want to put Bill Burr back in the colonial period and have them go, this man is insane. They'd have him locked up.
What is this mongrel? He is sick.
Bill Burr would be locked up for like schizophrenia because he'd be like, they're like, he was just screaming about fishing port taxes and now he's saying he doesn't care if we do anything.
He'd be the first one in the medical books for like mental illness.
Right. There was a man who would shout about his convictions loudly and tell us all what we need to do. And then by the end of his rant, he would tell us to do whatever we wanted because he didn't care.
We called it Tourette's.
We called it the Burr syndrome.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, I'm telling you right now, slavery is bullshit. It is something we need to fix immediately. I am not down with slavery. It's wrong. We're treating black people like shit. But, you know, what do I know?
Sir, words like that have never been spoken in this room.
Yeah, but I could be full of shit, you know? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. You know, you guys do whatever you want.
You know.
It's just Bill Burr at important moments in history would be a really bad guy to have on your side.
Yes, make like a new, it'd be a comedy special or something, but like just pick the most tense scenes out of everything and insert him.
We gotta stop this Hitler. He's a bad guy. He's gonna fucking kill everybody. I'm telling you right now, this Hitler is a madman, and you gotta stop him. You gotta stop him flat. But I don't know. You know, well, maybe he's fine. You know, maybe I'm just having a bad day. You know, just going crazy. Just do whatever you want. that is every Bill Burr like position on politics I've ever heard. Just come out of the gate firing, and by the end, you're like, I don't give a shit.
Add that to your list. I like that one.
All right.
And if you look at the data from Israel, the boosts, both the third shot boost and the fourth shot boost, was associated with a clear-cut clinical effect, mostly in elderly people, but also as they gathered more data, even in people in the 40s and the 50s. So there is clinical data.
But that's not children, Dr.
Right.
Fauci. That's not kids. And by the way, the fact that we're at our fourth or fifth booster, not good.
No, that doesn't happen for anything else.
I'm trying to think of what else has tetanus, but that's what, every 10
tetanus
years?
Tetanus is every 10 years. And that's reasonable. Come on, that's every 10 years.
Tetanus is the most flimsy shit we have in American medicine before this vaccine, and that's even once a decade.
Yeah,
You're getting that shot 4 or 5 times.
What is the rest of it? I think hepatitis and the MMR vaccines.
You get a series of those and you're done.
Yeah, I think it's a series of 3.
And that's only because your body can't handle the dosage in one shot. It's not because the effectiveness wears off.
Some people have a hard time with like a single dose.
Right. It's just because it's such a heavy concentrated dose, they need to split it up into 3. It's not like the efficacy wanes.
I never got my last hepatitis one. I had such a hard time with it.
Fuck, I'm going to get hepatitis.
But not in children.
Well,
see, here's the thing is you're not willing to be honest with the American people.
Right.
So, for example, 75% of kids...
Like he asked you a simple question, and you've been sitting here bullshitting the entire time, and that's why people don't trust you.
He veers off the road all the time.
Like if you're a science guy, like Bill Nye the Science Guy, if you're a science guy or an engineer, sorry, I was doing Bill Nye there, engineer. If you're a doctor or a scientist, I'm all over. You know, what do I know, dude? If you're a doctor or a scientist and someone asks you a question and your answer is obfuscating and spinning, but the answer is no,
yeah,
and you don't tell me no, I worry because I go, why? There shouldn't be an answer that's devastating to your case because you shouldn't have a case. That's not the scientific method. The scientific method is you have an idea. You have a hypothesis based on what you've gathered. And then if someone goes, hey, does this data match your hypothesis? Mm-hmm. In science, there's no room for ego. You just go, oh, no, it doesn't. I have to adjust the hypothesis.
Right.
With COVID, it's taken science and spun it completely on its head, where it's like, here's what we need you to do. Well, does all the data show we need to do that? Look, you fucking anti-science shithead, do what we say. That doesn't sound
God,
right.
that is so true. Science is supposed to be your hypothesis and stuff, and then just the data and the facts.
Rand Paul is asking this guy questions where the answer is clearly no. We don't have the data
to support this
on this kid's shit, and yet we're giving our official stamp of approval on it. That's not right.
Kids have had the disease. Why is the CDC not including this in the data? You can ask the question. You can do laboratory tests to find out who's had it and who hasn't had the disease. What is the incidence of hospitalization and death for children who've been infected with COVID, subsequently going to the hospital or dying? What is the possibility if your kid has had COVID, which is 75% of the country's had COVID, what is the chance that my child's going to the hospital or dying?
That's a simple question. Let's see how it's answered.
If you look at the number of deaths in pediatrics, Senator, you can see that there are more deaths
of people who have had it, of people who have had the disease.
Senator, we also know from other studies that the optimal degree of protection when you get infection is to get vaccinated after infection. And in fact, showing reinfection in the era of Omicron and the sublineages, that vaccination.
But you can't answer the question I asked. The question
Right. He asked you, if you get this again, if a kid's been infected already, because the majority of children have been infected already.
Yep.
75% of the country has been infected. So now what we're talking about is reinfection.
Yes.
If these kids get it again, what's their rate of hospitalization and death, fuckface? Answer the question.
That is basic, and your data...
Have you ever been in an argument with someone where you ask them a question that you know that the answer is damaging to their case, so they skip over the answer because they know it's damaging and start spinning it into something else? That's not an honest thing.
I ask is how many kids are dying and how many kids are going to the hospital who've already had COVID? The answer may be 0, but you're not even giving us the data because you have so much wanted to protect everybody from all the data because we're not smart enough to look at the data. When you released data earlier, when the CDC released the data, they left out the category of 18 to 49 on whether or not there was a health benefit for adults 18 to 49. Why was it left out?
Did they really?
Guess so. I didn't know that either.
Dude, I'm sorry. You want us to not think the worst, and then you do bad guy shit.
18 to 49 people that are going to make. They're going to.
Now,
think
April,
about
why did they not release when they talked about hospitalization and all of that and second infection? Why did they leave out 18 to 49?
Because they're fucking fine. They're making
They don't. Yeah, it doesn't. They don't go to the hospital.
When critics finally complained, it was finally included because there was no health benefit from taking a booster between the 18 to 49 and the CDC study. Another question for you. The NIH continues to...
So he's not even letting him respond to these because he's not answering them.
No, he's answering for him.
Right. He's like, all right, since you won't answer it, here's what you don't want people to hear. When it came to reinfection, the booster didn't help anyone 18 to 49 because they don't go to the fucking hospital. Didn't help them with hospitalization or death.
I like Rand Paul. I like him more every time I hear him talk. Can we get him for president?
People don't like it when I say this. He was my guy in 2016. I wasn't a Trump guy. I was a Rand Paul guy. And I was really upset because Rand Paul would have beat Hillary Clinton by way more than Trump did. Pretty much, if you look at the polling, pretty much anyone would have beaten him.
I think so,
because
too.
Donald Trump ran against Hillary Clinton, and let's not forget, he got beat.
Yep.
Donald Trump got beat. He won the Electoral College, but he got beat in a straight-up election.
Part of me doesn't understand that whole, the two, like, you win and lose thing. I don't.
Because each state gets a certain amount of electoral votes.
I know that.
Well, that's all there is to it.
Then why is there even, why is there
the popular vote dictates who wins the electoral votes. If I get more votes than you in Colorado, I get all of Colorado's electoral votes.
Yeah, I know that.
If I win all my states 51-49, but you win all your states 70-30, but I win more electoral votes, you'll kick the living shit out of me in the popular vote.
It's just strange.
But I'll win the Electoral College. It was made so big states don't get all the say. So the small states matter. That was the whole point of it.
Refuse to voluntarily divulge the names of scientists who receive royalties and from which companies. Over the period of time from 2000.
Whoa. Go back.
Yeah,
Go
back
back.
up.
I didn't know that either.
Refuse to voluntarily divulge the names of scientists
let me go back further.
because there was no health benefit from taking a booster between the 18 to 49 and the CDC study. Another question for you. The NIH continues to refuse to voluntarily divulge the names of scientists who receive royalties and from which companies.
Does he mean like Pfizer?
Yes, that is what he means.
And Moderna?
And Moderna.
I'm guessing there ain't a lot of them who are getting money from Johnson & Johnson because they torpedoed the shit out of that
fucking
vaccine.
shit all over Johnson & Johnson.
Well, I mean, people were getting blood clots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want the Johnson & Johnson one either. Fuck it.
Oh, by the way, when it comes to Justin Bieber, I want you guys to know that you're all conspiracy theorists. There's a lot of 28-year-old kids who just randomly start going, I woke up, my face was all fucked. It happens all the time.
Oh, yeah. Haven't you ever had any of your friends just randomly do that?
Yeah, all my friends just, And a couple weeks
I
after.
just stopped hanging out with mine.
Yeah, and a couple weeks. Wow, what a terrible fucking pause I did on Rand Paul here. Guys, nobody photoshopped that.
Insert here.
Motherfucker's got a penny on his jacket. What kind of weird hipster shit are you doing there?
There's got to be obviously a reason.
Over the period of time from 2010 to 2016, 27,000 royalty payments were paid to 1,800 NIH employees.
Wait, 27,000 divided by 1,800 over a 6-year period? Go back and say that. I want to find out how many different payments were made over the years to scientists at the National Institute of Health, Fauci's organization.
To voluntarily divulge the names of scientists who receive royalties and from which companies. Over the period of time from 2010 to 2016,
6 years,
27,000 royalty payments were paid to 1,800 NIH employees.
So that's,
you know that?
15 payments per doctor.
And we don't know the amount.
Over 6 years. That's over two. They were getting like quarterly checks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they won't release.
They were getting quarterly checks from these fucking companies.
So there's obviously an interest there.
These are the people who are giving us like medical things to live by. We should know who's paying you. Dude, this is why, and Corey was saying on the show yesterday, Aaron, why don't you talk about this shit more? You know everything.
It's uncomfortable to know.
I don't like to learn this shit.
Right.
Because this isn't stopping.
Yeah, what can we do about it?
Me knowing it and talking about it isn't doing a goddamn thing. I just get tense. Because I find out that the people at the NIH were getting quarterly checks and we're not allowed to know from who. And for how much.
Or how much.
That, not because you told us, but because we forced you to tell us through the Freedom of Information Act. Over $193 million was given to these 18 employees.
How much did he say?
193 million.
Okay, 193 million.
Oh, God.
193 million.
Look at this money being thrown around at everything but fixing
Okay, divided
our
by, what
problems.
was it, 1,800 doctors?
Yeah.
So over the last 6 years, over those 6 years, 100 each of these NIH people got $107,000.
It's enough to keep you
Nice little stipend.
sitting there, isn't it? Yeah.
You each got 20 grand a year extra from these companies.
I'd love 20 grand a year extra.
Hey, but you know what? That 20 grand a year they were giving these scientists at the NIH, that was no strings attached. And these scientists at the NIH were totally allowed to make their own decisions.
Guaranteed.
And their own advice. Jesus fuck. And the fact that it had to be a Freedom of Information Act request and this wasn't divulged is a problem.
Seriously. Yep.
I want the Senate and the House to stop everything they're doing today. This should be a bipartisan bill. The NIH has to turn over and make public every single contribution they get from every single company. They have to document it. They have to release it to us. There has to be a website where we can all go look at it.
I agree with you.
It would I guarantee the reason that would never happen, it would destroy the faith any of us have in the medical
Everything
community.
they have would fall apart.
We would cease to believe. You know, the old saying, if you show the world God can bleed, people will cease to believe in him.
Yeah.
You show us that these people are on the take, it's chaos, because nobody will believe the medical industry.
Right, and I like sitting,
even the good ones.
Even like I sit here and I'm like, oh, nobody trusts these people anyways. But there are still people out there that really do trust in the NIH and the CDC and all that, and this would cause them to turn to
1,500 employees. Can you tell me that you have not received a royalty from any entity that you ever oversaw the distribution of money in research grants?
Oh no, dude.
Is he going to answer that one?
This is the point of no return for me. I don't know if I want to hear the answer to this.
I don't want to know either.
Because if the answer is anything but absolutely not, if it's a long explanation, I'm going to go, oh, fuck,
but do you trust him even if he says absolutely not? No, nobody trusts this guy anymore. Stop.
But listen, it would make me feel better.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
Well, he wants the answer. I don't.
I love Rand Paul right now.
Why don't you guys want this guy as your why did
I
you
don't
reject
know.
him? Was it because the other guy was talking about Mexicans in a wall and all
Paul
that shit?
DeSantis.
Well,
Fun.
Unfortunately, at this rate, it would be DeSantis Paul, which I guess I'm not mad about either.
fine.
Yeah, I guess I'm not mad about that.
That's
one.
fine.
Well, first of all, let's talk.
No, just say no. Just say no that you didn't take any money. Don't go, just say you didn't.
Does not equal no.
$1 million was given to these 1,800 employees. Can you tell me that you have not received a royalty from any entity that you ever oversaw the distribution of money in research grants?
Well, first of all, let's talk about.
Just say you haven't. The is a yes.
You might as well just say, yes, of course I have. What are you, crazy?
What are you, nuts? I'm not going to take money from drug companies to do research on their product. Dude, if they had to make this shit public, we would look at a doctor the way we look at a tobacco executive.
Absolutely. I know.
You know that line in Shooter where they talk about Bob Lee Swagger moving up into the hills and what's Glover's name? Why can't I think of Danny Glover's name? Danny Glover. Danny Glover's character goes, some men don't know what to do when their entire belief system collapses.
Right.
Bob Lee is one of those people. It's like, dude, I'm one of those people.
I know.
Like, I don't know what to do. I got the main guy who tells us what drugs to take, not being able to say he's not on the take from people he's giving grants to.
Right. When everyone says, too, like, oh, trust the science, they're meaning trust Fauci. Like, we're all supposed to believe in what he says.
These people are tobacco executives. It's the same thing.
Royalty. That's the question. No, that's the question. Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know? Why don't you reveal how much you've gotten and from what entities? The NIH refuses. Look, we ask them. The NIH, we ask them whether or not.
Right now, he's pointing his glasses. You watch, in 6 months, Rand Paul's going to be pointing a hunting knife.
He's so fucking confident.
He's just going to go, motherfucker, show me your money. And he's like, oh, shit, that's a knife. Sorry, I got getting a little excited.
I grabbed the wrong thing on my
I meant
sock.
to grab my glasses. You know what? In fairness, in 6 months, it's going to be a letter opener. In a year and a half, it's going to be a knife. It's going to be a giant. He's going to be pointing a fucking broadsword. And he's going to be like, show me your fucking funds.
He can borrow my buck knife.
Yeah.
Who got it and how much? They refused to tell us. They sent it redacted. Here's what I want to know. It's not just about you. Everybody on the vaccine committee. Have any of them ever received money from the people who make vaccines?
Dude, they took $107,000 over 6 years when there weren't vaccines being made. Imagine, I want to see what that number is 2020 to 2022.
Do you know what makes me really uncomfortable, too, is that this is
a bra that doesn't fit.
Yeah, those are bad. This is really, really important stuff for people to be thinking about and hearing, and people should see this video. And I fear that there's a lot of people like me who, if I wasn't here on the show right now, they wouldn't be seeing this. Like, this isn't
the first
common
time,
knowledge.
This is the first time I've watched
You know what I mean, though? I feel like this needs to be seen by people.
No.
It worries me that people just keep
it.
their head in the sand and they don't know these things and they just blindly follow.
It's so much nicer in the sand.
It is, but we're destroying everything. I'm sorry.
What are you going to do about it?
I can't do shit, but if everyone knows, we could at least vote for certain things. At least.
And then we'll get some progress.
Be aware.
And then we'll make some progress and they'll kill that guy. That's what's going to happen. We're talking about billions of people.
I'm trying to be hopeful here.
We're talking about billions of dollars these guys are fucking with. They start, they'll let you chip away at millions, but when you start talking about fucking with billions,
I'm just saying,
that's when they take you. That's when they take you for that convertible ride.
I just want the evil out in the open and I want people to see it.
Well, then you have to abolish government.
Can you tell me that? Can you tell me if anybody on the vaccine approval committees ever received any money from people who make the vaccines?
Soundbite number one. Are you going to let me answer a question?
He's bitchy.
Okay, so let me give you some information. First of all,
well, he's a lot closer to that camera than he was before. He gets testy when
he's a bit cunty on his COVID streams.
Well, I'll tell you something about Fauci. Every time his decency is questioned,
yeah,
and he won't give you the answer. We've all done this when we've been like when someone catches us doing something.
You've been found out.
You get angry.
Yeah.
You get self-righteous.
I never want to call you out for anything.
We all do it.
You're furious.
We all get called out for shit, and we protect ourselves by getting mad. I don't think there's anyone in here who's Jedi enough to not do that. It's an impulse. It's an immediate fight or flight thing.
It is.
We all go. That's why in arguments, you've done this a million times. You'll go back 3 hours later and you'll go, I'm sorry about that thing. Because you just got called out. You need a minute to sit with that. Like if we were all smart, we would go to someone when we call them out for shit and we would go, hey, I think you're doing this. And then you leave them alone. You don't argue. You just let them know, I think that you're doing this.
But then they're mad at you for saying that and walking away.
Right, no. And then you leave it all alone. And then a few hours later, it'll get taken care of. But none of us have that. The other person has to yell and get defensive. Then the other person has to yell back. And then you have to, it's almost like you have to go through that to get to the 3 hour later point.
I think it's human nature.
Right. You have to go through the yelling and the screaming because then you can go, okay, I defended myself. And you think about it and you go, it was just a mistake I made. I just fucked up. I can just go, yeah, I fucked that up.
It is unfortunate that all the yelling and insulting has to happen first, though, because then you resent each other.
Not if you know, like that's the thing. Not if you just discipline yourself to know, oh, this is all part of the process.
People don't have that.
I do.
You're not people. You're a person. You're the exception, not the rule.
I know in the middle of shit I'm in that it's going to work itself out. I just can't help myself to do the things first. Just so that's like when I see you doing it, I'm more apt to let it, like, while still fighting the battle, I also in my head am going, all right, here we go. This is the part we have to get through to get to the part where we, do the thing where we say, oh, probably could have handled it this way instead of that way. Like,
it's very much, we've got to have the fight to inevitably get here.
I've always got that in the back of my head. And I think more people have to have that in the back of their head. That it's just like, all right, stay in what you're doing right now, but know that what you're doing right now has to lead to this thing you're going to do in 3 hours. Because you're right. If you just leave it, if you call the thing out and then leave it alone and don't fight, that person might just feel they got away with it.
Yeah, they do.
And they're like, oh, no, it's good. Okay, they just called me out on it.
And then they think it's finished.
And then it's over. But if you fight it out, then you get work to the realization. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is. A lot of people have said this before. It's not when friends or couples or anyone else, it's not the fighting you have to worry about. It's when people stop fighting.
Oh, yeah.
That you have to worry.
There's no resolution to anything.
When people stop, like when you see a couple, like how many times have you seen this where people go, so-and-so broke up? And you go, they always seemed like they got along so well. Well, yeah, that's why. It was done. Yeah. Like how many times have you seen couples that they'll get annoyed with each other, they'll fight with each other, and you're like, they're going to break up. And they never fucking do. And you're like, how the hell are they hanging in there? And like, because they do that. Because they
hash out their problems.
Because again, they always say the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. So at least fighting means there's still passion there. When you're indifferent towards shit, then I think you're in trouble. So at least Fauci's still got passion. He's working up that defensiveness we talked about. He got caught. So Fauci still loves medicine.
Yeah.
He just hates all of us.
That's true.
According to the regulations, people...
Wait a minute. So am I saying that Rand Paul and Fauci just need to fuck this out?
I think that's what it boils down to.
I think Paul and Fauci just need to fuck this out.
...who receive royalties are not required to divulge them even on their financial statement, according to the Bayh-Dole Act. So let me give you some examples.
Right, but what Rand Paul Fauci is saying is that that's the problem, that you don't have to divulge that. You're hiding behind the law that protects your crookedness. You're not, this is what really scares me about people like you. You're not apologizing for the crookedness.
Right.
You're defending the crookedness with the thing that protects the crookedness. It's like that, but that's the thing we're saying is bad.
From 2015 to 2020, the only royalties I have was my lab and I made a monoclonal antibody for use in vitro reagent that had nothing to do in patients. And during that period of time, my royalties range from $21 a year to $700 a year, and the average per year was $191.46.
It's all redacted, and you can't get any information on the 1,800 scientists.
Right. You read a thing off a piece of paper. Then show us.
Right. Why isn't that public knowledge?
Make him look like a dick. That's what I don't get about shit like this.
Yeah, if you've got the thing, use it.
Release it to all of us, and we can all go, hey, Senator Paul, you kind of look like a dick right now.
Right, you're going to have to walk that back.
You're going to have to walk his part back. Maybe not the 1,800 scientist part, which is scary enough, but him. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to walk that shit back. And does it, this is where Rand Paul might have stepped in shit. A guy who's at the level of Fauci isn't getting kickbacks. It's the guys who are working on the thing who are making the recommendations.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, of course, Fauci's not going to be the one. Don't go after him.
Go after the guys who are making because he's just the guy who signs off on everything.
Yes.
He's the number 2 guy.
Yep.
What's his name? The other guy was I can't remember who the number 1 guy. I don't remember his name. By the way, I left our poll up for 40. That was 45 minutes ago. We're fucking cruising today. Biden won the poll. 28%. Harrison Pelosi. Biden 45%.
I don't disagree with that. I think they're all really bad.
All right, let's go ahead and I'm sure the chat was bananas during that entire thing, and it was. Let's see. Fauci keeps trying to dance around the question. April in 24. I think
it's because I said me.
Like the show 24?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know what they're talking about.
2024.
They want you to run
I said
for
I wanted
president.
the evil out there in the open for everyone to see, and I think that probably sparked that.
Skeezy says best part of these Senate hearings is everyone will move on tomorrow and nothing will change. I know that's why I sit here and I go, why am I seeing this?
Nothing gets done.
My feet are cooler in the sand, says Lab Glass, right? Nice.
I know, it does feel better.
Yeah, and Spicy Peach says, F it, I'm going to the beach. Right? You just want to go to the beach. Why Dad says, I would like to see Paul grill Joe. That would be so sad to watch.
That would be hurtful.
Do you enjoy watching Holmes Ali too, you asshole? Spicy Peach says, all the evil people have kids and grandkids. Our kids will have to learn their names. It's fucking deep, bro. Toastmaster says, I started to watch that yesterday and realized it was 2 hours and I turned it off. We'd apparently been talking about it for 45 minutes and I had no idea. Wow. Skeezy says, gotta have the fight before you can have the makeup sex.
Do people still do that?
I don't know. You just kind of have sex. Just have sex with each other.
I feel like makeup sex isn't really a real thing anymore.
I've never done makeup sex.
I have. I feel like that part of my life is gone.
My hatred runs too deep.
I feel like you only have makeup sex in bad relationships.
I'm better at hate than that. I feel like you're bad at hate.
Yeah.
If you have makeup sex. Like, no, I'm not fucking you right now. I hate you.
Dude, that's totally me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking you, you piece of shit.
I will be damned if I'm touching you tonight.
Bend to my will and tell me I'm correct, and then maybe you will get the gift of my staff of love. Until then, fuck off and suck my dick.
It's nice to know we're both on that page.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen hardly ever here, but that's a nice thing.
Yeah, fuck you.
I do think makeup sex is in bad relationships because it's the only...
Because the only sex you get?
No. It's because in bad relationships, sometimes sex is the only thing you're good at in the relationship.
Only thing that fixes anything?
I really do think that.
Damien says, interesting meme floating around of Ed Norton from the film American History X. Oh, this doesn't sound good.
This is...
Showing the 4 phases of his transformation from to Nazi skinhead. It's entitled The 4 Stages of Left-Wing Intolerance. Oh, that's kind of funny. Cole says, have you seen Rand's wife, Kelly? Much rather fuck her than Fauci. Well, I hope so. She's a woman.
And he married her.
Why that? Rand is going to stump break this evil elf. Well, if it hasn't happened yet, Dude,
even Fauci's voice it's like a cheese grater to my forehead now.
Loaded Wrench says, don't forget the cool million Israel gave him. Yeah, wasn't it funny that Dr. Fauci picked like the year he became the guy in charge? That was the year he picked. From 2015 to 2020, you'll see that I only got this. How about before that?
I have a question.
Shut the fuck up, Senator Paul.
Can any of you guys answer me this? How did we choose him to be the guy that we trust?
He just worked his way up in that organization to be the head of infectious diseases.
Yeah. That's it. Okay.
And he led the thing on AIDS and stuff. Balls deep. Francis Collins, that's the guy I'm thinking of. That was the top guy at the NIH. And then Fauci was the infectious disease guy. Eastman knew it was illegal. He said so and wrote so. I don't know Eastman. I'm not that in touch with shit. I just know when things scare the shit out of me. Informal Warfare says, do you forgive me? Not until you fuck me. There you go.
Isn't that something?
Professor G says, well, I spent a ton of money on therapy for nothing. Well, you're welcome.
I feel, guys, if the only thing you enjoy in a relationship is sex, move along.
Benton says, Fauci ran the AIDS response in the early 80s. Well, good. Otherwise, that could have got totally out of hand. God. If Fauci hadn't gotten there in the early 80s to deal with AIDS, that could have totally gotten away from us.
Yeah.
Thank God Fauci was there on AIDS, because if he hadn't been, whoo!
Fauci was on AIDS.
That could have... Well, no, I'm sorry.
He
was
odd.
Fauci was in control of the response to AIDS. And I tell you what, dude, if Fauci hadn't been there to deal with AIDS early on, they would have been pushing drugs on people that made them worse. They would have been giving bad advice on how to avoid it.
Wait, Aaron, didn't those things happen already?
Oh, shit.
Did you ever hear about AZT?
Oh. No, I never finished the
really
Matthew
bad.
McConaughey movie. I just thought Fauci was the hero.
I watch it like a goddamn documentary.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like you put on your... How do you move up in the medical world without corruption? If you put on your resume, I was the guy in charge of controlling AIDS, and they look at that and they go, well, fucking bang up job you did, dickweed.
Yeah, dickweed. I like that. Can we bring that back?
Right. You see, if we made medicine and science, if it truly was a meritocracy and not crooked and evil and corrupt, then the first guy would have looked at Fauci's resume and gone, no, get the fuck out of here. Why? You annihilated the gay community in the 80s with your bad, shitty takes on the disease that was slaughtering them, and then probably spread it to more of the straight community by focusing a little too much on the gays.
Yep.
Because once it's in the blood, it can get everywhere, motherfucker. It's not just gay people anymore.
Dude,
That's like the monkeypox thing. It's like, if it started out as a gay thing at these port festivals, then what you do is you just tell gay people 2 weeks and no butt fucking to flatten the curve. Now it's spread. Now it's not just a gay sex thing. You can't just hammer down this behavior and go, okay, let's cool it on that for a bit and we'll nail it. Now you fucked up so hard that now many, I'm sure at least a couple dozen straight people probably have it, and they can spread it. So,
well, I watched some kind of little documentary once on wives that were that had gay husbands that had sex behind their back and stuff, and gave it to them when they'd have sex with them, and they were never talked about either. The wives of gay men that would cheat on them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because, back in the 80s, not exactly the safest thing to just come out and
not
be
a
gay.
conversation.
Yeah, not something. I mean, you think about it, the movie Philadelphia was like 1990 something, and that's an accurate depiction of how people felt about gay people then.
Yep.
And you're just like, holy shit.
Boy, has that become a little more acceptable, hasn't it? But not enough yet.
Not enough, guys. We don't have them reading to children every day, so you need to be more tolerant.